And welcome back to another episode of the Amazin Citi, episode something.
57? Is this a Johan episode?
I don't know. But tell you what, 57. If you flip those numbers, it shows a great score of yesterday. And I have to lead off with this, Jack, buddy. I have to say, I love your profile picture. I think it's the best one you've had so far.
I don't want to talk about it.
I would love to talk about it personally.
Look, yeah, you got the third, arguably fourth string goalie in there. This is episode 57, by the way. Third or fourth string goalie in there. I was chatting about it with someone who also writes at Mesmerized today. I was very impressed by the Devils for 55 minutes.
Yeah.
Aside from about a 5-minute span in the second period where they looked like one of the worst teams I've ever seen play. And, in that Pacific Division, you got some bad teams.
You got some bad teams.
You got some bad teams once you get kind of past. Well, and they're going to continue to get worse with the Blues and the Predators.
And you could say the same thing about the Metro.
Right.
With the Flyers and Columbus. There are some bad
Columbus
teams
still have the worst record in the league. It's I know them and Anaheim have been going back and forth.
Yeah.
Or I
think last I checked, they were percentage. I think Columbus had like 43 points or something like that.
Anaheim is like 44.
Awful.
But I mean, we're just the Pacific is pretty bad.
It is the NL Central of hockey.
You got 4 good teams. Nashville selling off. St. Louis is selling off. The Coyotes sucks. Chicago sucks.
It's actually more of the AL Central. It's just the Central.
It's just the Central. It's just the Central. You got the 2 most central divisions in every sport, and they probably suck.
Right.
That's just, God, yeah. Philly, Columbus, Capitals are selling off.
It's hard to sell off when you still have Ovi, but nonetheless.
Yeah, I'm not sure I understand that. I think I'd be going for it every year he's still there, but
yeah.
I guess it's a retool.
We are not
That's the sport we talk about.
We are a baseball podcast, more specifically a Mets podcast, and we got to talk about some stuff that's going on with the Mets. Spring training is going on. Some
full swing.
They're what, 7, 8 games in at this point?
I think it's probably easier to count the days since their first game, because some days it feels like you got 3 games going on.
Right.
So we're getting stuff from backfield minor league scrimmages, and you got the one team in Jupiter and the other team in St. Lucie.
Right.
Game started the 25th. Today's the 2nd. My quick math: 25, 26, 27, 28. Oh shit! 25, 26, 27, 28. 1,
2.
6 days in. 6 days in, probably 8 games.
Yeah.
7 or 8 games.
Yep.
Who's your MVP of the spring so far?
From the Mets perspective?
Oh yeah.
It has to be Brett Baty. I think it has to.
What's he, 6 for 12 with a bomb? Stellar defense at third.
He's sticking at. I wouldn't say stellar. He's staying true to
his form.
What he was doing last year. He just hitting the living piss out of the ball.
That you championed that movement.
What? 15 to 20 extra pounds of muscle that he added on.
I mean, you were championing that movement before the Correa stuff. I remember we had an episode on here around when Mike came on. And I was like, they're done. They're not going to go after Correa. Like, they're not going to go and try and trade for Devers. Like, they're done.
Right.
They're going to roll with Escobar and Baty. And you started championing this movement. Brett Baty hits the piss out of the baseball. And you're the one who points out to me from the time he was active. So when he gets called up before he hits the IL on the 31st, no one was hitting the ball harder in baseball.
Right.
We're not just talking the Mets. We're talking the baseball. And you got some dudes. I mean, Giancarlo Stanton isn't always hitting the ball, but when he does, I mean, the fucker's going a long way.
Yeah.
It's going out very fast. I mean, Aaron Judge, Jose Ramirez, like you got these guys who are constantly sitting.
Trout, like all
right. Like you got a bunch of dudes, even McNeil for the most part, who are constantly sitting like 105, 110 at their exit velos.
Right.
But Brett
Pete
Baty,
Alonso, I mean, shit.
Brett Baty for that month-long period was hitting the ball hardest out of anyone in baseball.
Yeah, so
I'm not surprised. Even his first official at bat of spring, he hits a tank to the batter's eye.
Yeah,
and if we're counting the inner squad before that, he went 3 for 3.
Yeah, did he go deep off of Scherzer?
Well, I don't put too much weight in that because remember last year Dom Smith took Scherzer deep twice. And everyone was like, "Oh my God, Dom's back!" And it was the last homer Dom hit before he went yard. That was the last homer Dom hit before he started going yard for Syracuse.
Yeah,
in like September.
Right.
The going yard off Scherzer was Doesn't have the best stories attached to it.
No,
Best
and
sentiments.
that's a salient point. But I mean,
Not to ruin the role you were
yeah,
on.
but he's going oppo, he's hitting the gaps, he's pulling the ball, he's going to center. It, everything is loud. Everything is loud. So I'm very curious to see how he does, especially after all the players leave from WBC in a couple of days.
Well, and
When he
here's the
gets
thing
more
about
playing time, more starting playing time.
here's my thing about
I know it's spring, but I'm getting
right.
excited watching Brett Baty.
Obviously, you want the ball to be loud, but you're also very concerned. You want not concerned isn't the right word, but a huge important area that you're looking at then is what's happening. What is he doing when he's not hitting the ball loud?
Right.
He's got a strong approach. He's willing to take his walk and get on base, which is a huge thing when you're looking at the overall development.
Just putting the ball in play.
Putting the ball in play, being willing to get on base by any means.
Yeah.
Because that's what this team is built on. I mean, if the Mets, I feel like if the Mets could have 3 more Mark Cannos on their roster, they would take it. They absolutely would. This is a team that's built on everyone get on, everyone move your station. Got 2 or 3 big boppers in the lineup to do it.
Yeah.
Who can drive everyone in, clean everything up.
And that's
what this team is built on. But he can do both.
A willingness, and just to kind of somewhat compare him to the other top hitting prospects in the organization with Vientos, Alvarez, and Mauricio. He's shown that willingness to take that 1-2 pitch and just put it in play to try to get a run in. I feel like, especially with Alvarez, he's more of a, I don't want to say he's more all or nothing, but
he keeps his approach.
And he's more prone to chasing and striking out when you're trying to get that man home from third with less than 2 outs.
No, absolutely.
Brett Baty, I feel like
he's got a good command.
Runner on third, less than 2 outs. 80% of the time, he's going to get that run home.
No, and I mean, like, even like when you're looking at Alvarez, like he brought up, like he's willing to take his walk, he's willing to get on base. But like, I remember when he got to the Eastern League, he got up to the trip to AAA, the East Division, they were pitching around him. He was hitting like 210 because he wasn't getting a lot of great pitches, but he was still getting on at like a 340, 350 clip.
Yeah.
Because he was willing to take his walk and get on base. It was a huge improvement you need to see. We saw that in spurts from Alex Ramirez. We see Brett Baty have no problem with that. We struggle to see that with guys like Vientos and Mauricio, because that's not entirely in their mold as a player.
Right.
But Brett Baty is going to prolong the at-bat on 2 strikes. He's going to strike out, but he's not going to strike out nearly as much. He'll be a much tougher strikeout in those spots than you see Vientos, Alvarez, Ramirez, Mauricio. Guys where you're really in a hole 1-2 because you don't entirely have the barrel control to be able to keep yourself alive.
Right.
Brett Baty does.
Right.
So, I mean, and I think one of the great things about Baty is he has such a wide net for his offensive profile.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was alluding to, those 2, 3, 4 big boppers you have to clean the bases. He can be one of those guys. He will have major league seasons where he hits 30 home runs.
I don't doubt that.
I'm pretty confident on that. But you could also easily convince me he has seasons he hits 15. His profile is so unique and diverse that it's really something you don't see a lot of.
Mm-hmm.
And even then, looking just at his profile as a whole, the whole talk of him in left field, and the guys in the MLB Pipeline pod pointed this out not too long ago. Someone asked a great question, but
wonder who that guy was.
Oh, it definitely didn't spurn a 5-minute conversation about Hall of Fame basketball coach Dr. Jack Ramsey. But the athleticism he possesses and the arm he has, that's why you hear talk about him being able to play left field. Right. Not because he can't cut it at third. This isn't like Mike Napoli can't cut it behind the plate, so they move him to first.
Right.
Like Joe Mauer is getting old, they move him to first. That's not
Mark Vientos can't cut it anywhere, so they hide him at first.
Right, or they DH him. Like, this isn't that. This isn't that at all.
Right.
He's incredibly athletic. He's lanky. He's fast. He's got a good arm.
Mm-hmm.
He could handle left field the same way he can handle third base. And I think when you're comparing the 2 third basemen the Mets have right now, you have a kind of like a shorter, more compact and built guy in Escobar, and somewhat of a taller, lanky or more agile guy in Baty.
Sure.
And they're 2 very different profiles defensively. And when you start to look into the numbers from Escobar last year, they were not good at third base. There were very few third basemen in baseball that were worse than Escobar defensively. You kind of look into the projections and what people believe you will see out of Brett Baty. Fangraphs has a 55 defensive grade on him. That's on a 20 to 80 scale, with a 50 being a solid score. 50 is about the mean.
He is
if you're looking at 45
defender.
Well, I mean, I'm like a 45 to 50 grade is average. That is an average player. 40 is solidly below average. 45, you're on the low side of average. 50, you're on a little bit high side of average.
Mm-hmm.
55, you are firmly an above average player at what you do. So 55 defensive grade is pretty good, especially for a guy who, coming at the draft, there were questions of, all right, is he a first baseman? Is he a third baseman? We have to stick him in the outfield. Is he a DH? Like, is he gonna have to two-way a little bit? Because he was a good pitcher in high school. So there's some thought, and so I remember some conversations. I don't know how found this was, more so just speculation. Like, if you can't cut it defensively, are you gonna have to like Ohtani him a little bit? Just to and obviously a lot of those guys do that, and one of those sides fizzle out in the minors. But there was legitimate concern in a lot of it about where he was going to play defensively.
Right.
And last year he killed all that concern.
Yeah.
If Brett Baty was not a competent defender at third base, he would not be a top 25 prospect in baseball.
I agree.
Simple as that.
I agree.
Because when he was sitting 60s, 70s, 80s, when no one knew where he was going to play. Now he's sitting 20s, 30s, teens, with scouts and evaluators believing that he will be a solid long-term third baseman.
Yeah, I'm not worried about his defensive profile at third. We know how his hitting profile looks and what it projects to be. I think he's one of those guys where he's going to have a very nice, hopefully 10 to 12 year career. And he's one of those guys where you look at, and again, kind of comparing him to the other top hitting prospects in the organization. He may not have the highest ceiling, but I think he has the highest floor.
Yes.
Right? Like,
yes.
Almost,
there are the floor
you almost
for
know
Alex
what you're going to get out of
Ramirez.
him. Meanwhile, Francisco Alvarez, he can kind of go one way or the other. Ronny Mauricio he's the definition of could go superstar, or he can kind of dud out. Vientos, I know it's spring and it's early, but just from the at-bats he had last year, and I know he's young and he can make adjustments and he can improve as a player and as his hitting profile, defensive profile. I've gotten somewhat concerned about Mark Vientos.
I think that's fair. There might be a world where Alex Ramirez flames out in Double-A. There might be a world where Ronny Mauricio is about to go hit 200 with a 600 OPS in Syracuse this year. Then he becomes a DFA candidate in the fall to open up a 40-man spot. Mark Vientos, if he struggles and just becomes kind of a quad A guy, could be a player to be named later candidate. He could himself become a DFA candidate. But the thing is, when you're looking at,
shocked he's even on the roster. I thought he was almost a bona fide lock to be traded in the offseason.
Well, even when we were looking at the deadline, it was like the Mets have a plan for Mark Vientos if they don't trade him. And they brought in the guy who has the same profile.
Right.
In terms of being a righty DH who can hit lefties well, play first and third. Mainly first, but and, I think him playing a lot of first base really kind of shows you what they think of him. They're pretty done with him.
Played one game at third and it was not good.
No, I mean, they're fairly done with him at third. And not that these are showcases, but if he can build up legitimate value at first base, the Mets aren't going to replace Pete Alonso with him.
Right.
But, the Cubs might replace Eric Hosmer with him. The Reds might replace Joey Votto with him. The Rockies might replace CJ Cron with him.
Mm-hmm.
So, you want to find a spot where he can build up this value.
Sure.
But I can guarantee you it's not third base, and it's probably not with the Mets. I wouldn't be shocked if he's dealt at the end of camp. Sometimes we see lower end moves like that. Because if the Mets seem to be hell-bent on maintaining flexibility, and that's another thing we're going to go into when we talk about the bullpen, inevitably, because it's hard to talk about spring training and not talk about the bullpen.
Right.
But if they're going to maintain roster flexibility, they're going to want open 40-man spots. And I think Mark Vientos is at the biggest. He's one of the guys at the biggest risk for it. You opened up a spot with Khalil Lee, but that turns into Sam Coonrod, who has looked pretty good. But the Mets are probably going to want to open up another one at some point just to have that flexibility for a trade, free agent signing. You got to bring a guy up off a minor league deal because someone hits a 15-day DL.
Right.
IL. I think Mark Vientos is someone who, in some sort of trade, could be in danger. And I think you made the point, like his most valuable position being third base, he hasn't looked good. He's never looked good. And this one game this spring did not look good.
I said one thing in a group chat, just like friends and everything, and I couldn't believe that I said it, but once I stand by it. Mark Vientos at third makes JD Davis look like a Gold Glover.
Oh, you remember how bad Todd Davis' second stint was?
That's how rough it is to. Again, he's young. He can improve. He can improve defensively, and the Mets have shown.
And there's a ton of time, and he'll get Syracuse reps.
Right. The Mets have shown that they're good at improving
defensive profiles. Yeah.
Yeah, I was trying to. Yeah,
find the word for it.
Pete Alonso was bad defensively when he got drafted. He was bad defensively. Brett Baty wasn't great defensively. Ronny Mauricio still isn't great, but he's improved from what he was when he got drafted or when he was signed. The Mets are good at developing these prospects, these young kids into.
I mean, shit, Jeff McNeil can above average play 4 different spots.
There you go.
No, I mean, I think there is. I think there's concern. I'm definitely concerned.
Yeah, I'm not ready to say he's a DFA candidate, but if there's a trade to be made, he's probably the first name out the door.
Look, I mean, they overplayed their cards at the deadline. Trying to pass him off as some top 100 guy with some insane ceiling, like the next great DH, the next Nelly Cruz. They should have taken what they could have got for him.
Mm-hmm.
Because he's a mediocre run in AAA away from being a DFA candidate. And the lack of positional value kills him.
Right.
And I am concerned. I am placing him under bust watch.
It's
I not know we a keep warning saying
yet.
It's early. It's on watch. It's like it's like you see the hurricane forming in the tropics. You see it getting towards like Cuba, Bermuda, Bahamas. You see it.
And listen, it could swing towards the coast, and he could just fine.
Absolutely veer off towards Europe, and everything's fine.
He can end up being a 25-30 home run guy, hit 270, and be a meh defender.
But right now, you are looking at the warning signs. I am officially placing Mark Vientos under bust watch.
Sorry.
No, I mean,
is he on a WBC roster?
Yes.
Venezuela?
Maybe.
I can't remember.
I don't think he's on the same Nicaragua. I think it's Nicaragua. Are we both Googling this at the same time?
We sure are. We could have you look it up because there's no need to
Mark
have
Vientos is on team Nicaragua.
Nicaragua. Okay. So he'll probably play there. He'll probably get third base reps. I wouldn't be shocked. But there's far more concern about him than with Brett Baty at third.
I'll tell you, I'll give you like a ranking of who I'm most concerned about. Number 1 is far and away Mark Vientos.
Right.
A distant, but not too distant number 2 is Ronny Mauricio.
Right.
Because I was talking about this in the chat the other day of prospect nerds. And the concern with Mauricio right now is he is the same player heading into 2023 that he was heading into 2021. He is just older, and with that comes being bigger and more filled out.
Mhm.
So the power and hitting the piss out of the ball does not shock me. Like,
right.
but also when you're getting served dick high,
It's
hanging
impressive.
changeups.
And it's
Oh,
eye opening.
yeah. But it's. I mean, you also you got to factor in the quality of pitching he's facing.
Sure, I understand.
These are. I mean, he's hitting these all in the late innings. So these are double A, triple A, class A guys. I mean, and every fastball he's getting is pointed out by Jarrett Seidler of Baseball Perspective. The fastball he's hit out have been flat fastballs, the top of the zone with no movement, which is the
But
most
also, to be fair
predictable
to
pitch
him,
known to man.
he's hitting, like you said, he's hitting double A and triple A guys. But
Which he should.
in his defense, that's probably the level he'll be starting the season at.
Yeah, he'll be starting the year AAA.
So
I guess the thing I'm more so saying is his spring has not answered any questions for me. Because he has still looked bad defensively. He's
showing a willingness to walk a little bit more. He's showing a willingness to walk a little bit more.
He's got what, one?
I've seen at least two. But hey, that's still two.
But I think the thing is, if you're looking at like an 8, 6, 7 game sample size, he's gonna walk 2 times in 6 games sometimes, but then he might go 30 games with 1.
Right.
And that's the thing, is the consistency of being able to have the same approach. It's like we were talking about before we came on. It's like sometimes he's going up there like he's playing MLB The Show, and he correctly guessed the pitch zone. So he got the flashing red, and he's like, fuck it, I'm swinging no matter what. And then he's swinging a curveball that bounces in front of the plate.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, he needs to be able to show that if he goes through droughts, it's not just an automatic out at the plate every time.
Right.
I mean, that's what killed TJ Rivera's career.
I was wrong. Ronny Mauricio has 1 walk, so I'll retract that statement.
I mean, think about TJ Rivera. The
Right.
dude could hit the ball anywhere.
Sure.
Great back control, played a couple spots decently. Cool story. But when he was slumping, he was an automatic out every time.
Right.
You need to, that was one of my favorite things about Michael Conforto specifically. Is Conforto was able to recognize, I am off. I am not doing it. So he was it's like he was going up there just like, I'll get on base. I'm just going to walk.
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't looking for a walk, but he was very willing to take it.
Right.
A lot of guys struggle with that. It's like, no, I'm gonna go up here right now and break my slump. Where Conforto was always willing to just go up there and be like, you know what? I still got to get on base. I'm paid to get on base. I got to get on base.
Right.
So he took a lot more walks when he was slumping. And that's even something about Baty. Baty's willing to take his walks. Alvarez is willing to take his walks, and I don't think we see that with Mauricio. Number 3 on my bust morning, a very, very distant third, is I'll put Alvarez over Baty, just because if Alvarez cannot stick behind the plate, you're looking at a platoon, either a phenomenal platoon DH or just a pretty good full-time DH.
Mm-hmm.
But the value of hitting 30 homers as a catcher with 120 OPS plus is vastly different from an 120 OPS plus and 30 homers as a DH.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I would be shocked if Baty is anything less than like at a minimum 8 to 10 good years, starting caliber guy, decent pop, decent defense, good eye. I'd be very surprised. Like, I'm probably higher on Brett Baty than a lot of different people.
But I'm getting there, man.
I don't see anything he does wrong. And there's nothing about him where I look at him, I'm like, all right, if he doesn't figure that out, it's not going to work.
Right.
He doesn't have any of that. Look, I mean, if you opening day roster a guy that's ranked in the top 100 by 2 of ESPN, Baseball Prospectus, ESPN, Baseball America, and MLB Pipeline.
Mm-hmm.
If you make at least 2 of those top 100 lists, and you're on the opening day roster, and you win
forget
Rookie
top
of
100,
the Year,
these top 20 considerations.
But I'm saying if you're on those top 100 lists,
right,
at least 2 of them, you're on the opening day roster, and you win Rookie of the Year, your team gets a pick right after the first round. Mariners are picking 29th in the draft this year, an extra first round pick basically, because the opening day rostered Julio, and he went on to win Rookie of the Year.
Right.
Look, I mean, Brett Baty is probably the best third baseman the Mets have right now, and I'm not sure it's terribly close. Look,
I don't hate the argument.
I'm not sure it's terribly close because I think a full season of Brett Baty defensively will at the worst break even with the rest of the league.
Because and I hate to kind of beat a dead horse with this
And
opinion.
we love Paul. We love Paul.
Hey, that's our guy, but we saw what he was last year. There are times where he's 3 to 4 outs a game. That's what he is.
And we talked about it in the
times,
winter.
But then there are times where over a course of 1 week, he's driving in 13, 14 runs.
I mean,
and knocking
he
four
personally
home runs
beat the Marlins one game.
He
drove in what, 5
series.
runs? The Mets won like 5-4, and he drove in all 5 runs.
Yeah.
Is that the month of Escobar game?
September was the month of Escobar. Granted, the Mets kind of got bailed out that game because Blyer balked 4 times in 1 inning. But
April through August was the months of anyone but Escobar.
There was a good 2 to 3 week stretch, and I think July, where you couldn't get him out. That's when he had the cycle mixed in there. He had a couple 2 home run games. He was insane. But it was almost like it was somewhat reminiscent of Jonathan Villar, where Villar would have strings where he was one of the most exciting players in baseball to watch because you never knew what he was going to do, including, base running blunders and just being an absolute lunatic. But outside of that, there are times where he's going to go 0 for 23. Escobar, I don't think he ever had a stretch that bad, but he was prone to 3 for 17, 4 for 24, stuff like that. And then he had the occasional, I'm going to go 15 for my last 15.
I'm pulling up his numbers right now.
Brett Baty, I feel like
he'll be Conforto-esque in the sense of when he's 0 for 20, he's going to have 7 walks mixed in there.
And listen, if you're getting on base,
you're taking
job.
that.
And that was my problem with Darren Ruff. That was my problem with Darren Ruff last year. He sucked.
That was your problem?
I had a lot of problems with Darren Ruff last year. But when he was going 0 for 25, he didn't walk.
Yeah, it was some of the worst baseball you can imagine watching.
He didn't walk. He didn't play the field. So he was useless. Brett Baty and I also feel like, and listen, we don't know this because we haven't really seen him for an extended stretch of time in the big league level, but he kind of seems like just from the mental state that we've seen from him, he doesn't seem like, okay, I'm 0 for 8, my last 18. I'm going to bring my struggles into the field. That's not, I don't perceive Brett Baty to be that guy.
Here's some Escobar splits for you.
Okay.
OPS is by month. April, 805.
Fine.
May, 594. June, 596. But July, he got up to 707.
Wait, he had back-to-back months with an OPS under 600?
Oh, well, I haven't gotten to August yet. August was a 457.
Oh, my God. What was July?
707. Major League average last year was around 700, so.
It was like 730.
September was a fucking 1.042.
He was the best player in baseball in September.
No, June, July, and August, he had in total 28 RBIs. September and October, he had 25. He had 8 homers that month. August,
Dude,
he hit 0.
He was on crack in September. He was out of his mind.
It was fucking insane.
That's still my guy. And you know what? No matter what, he's proud of you.
Dude, we have somehow spent
proud of you.
20 minutes on our first topic.
We still have more.
Well, I mean, we basically covered the Baty Mauricio we were going to talk about.
Yeah.
So, okay, well, let's shift gears a little bit to part of the spring training impressions I want to talk about.
Yeah.
Got 2 guys who have very much impressed me.
Okay.
I know roster bubble is more of like an NFL thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's more of an NFL tournament.
I think it's still
2 guys
depending on what you need. Yeah.
2 guys who are firmly on the bubble of the Mets opening day roster. Bryce Montes de Oca, John Curtis.
Okay. I didn't know we were going to go over the second one. I was
Curtis has looked phenomenal.
Yeah.
There is an argument to be made Look, Robertson's damn near 40. Ottavino had some issues with the pitch clock and runners and all that, and he always has issues with runners anyway.
He's also 37.
He's 37. Drew Smith is elite, but meh at
Damn
times.
straight. I don't know what you're talking about.
There's
Not my Drew Smith.
There is a good chance that the Mets. This will be the hottest take you'll get out of me all year. By July, John Curtis will be the Mets' main setup man.
Wow.
I think if he is healthy, you're looking at a slightly better version of what John Curtis was at his peak in Miami. And his peak in Miami was one of the better setup men and middlemen in baseball. So I mean, like we saw it. For as bad as some of those Mets teams were, John Curtis shoved it up their ass for a couple of years.
Yeah.
Granted, a lot of pitchers were when he was in Miami, but he has looked phenomenal. And Jacob Resnick put this out earlier at Montes de Oca.
Was John Curtis in Tampa for a little bit?
No. Are you thinking of Richard Springs? Jeffrey Springs.
Are you sure he wasn't in Tampa?
I don't think he was. Do you think maybe,
bother me.
Unless maybe he was part of that Joey Wendell trade?
It's going to bother me.
But as for Montes de Oca, Jacob Resnick put this out earlier. He threw a pitch 101 today that had 21 inches of vertical movement. Of the 400,000 pitches thrown in baseball last year, no one else
was in Tampa.
He was?
He was. He was in Tampa for a whopping 17 games.
Well, there you go.
He pitched to a 1.8 in Tampa. Goddamn. What?
Well, that's Tampa for you.
Yeah, for sure. He had an ERA plus of 230. Oh, man. But yeah. I was really hoping to kind of piggyback on your Bryce Montes de Oca. This is what I was hoping we would see from him. Electric stuff. He still kind of has the... I didn't get to see his full inning today, but he still doesn't have full control over where the baseball is going. But I think that's also just because his stuff is so disgusting. Like you said, he threw a pitch that was 102 that had 21 inches of movement. That's not normal, first of all. And that's hard to control.
I told you, like that's 400,000 pitches in baseball last year. No one else was able to do that. Edwin Diaz did not throw that type of pitch.
He reminds me a little bit of, not necessarily in terms of their move, like their pitching motion or anything like that, but in terms of just their stuff and overall control. Going to Philly and think of
Sir Anthony Dominguez?
No, Jose Alvarado, but from the right side. Where stuff disgusting. You can't replicate it. Their stuff is one of one, but they don't know where the ball is going.
My Mike Mayer made the point today in the chat I'm in. Montes de Oca without control is still a major league quality arm.
I agree.
Montes de Oca with control, and you're looking at one of the better relievers in baseball.
This is another reason why I can't get upset about, and we're going back to last year at the trade deadline, of trading the reliever for Vogelbach. The hell was his name? Holderman.
Holderman hit 99 today for Pittsburgh.
Great. Montes de Oca hit 102.
What just happened to your voice?
You got very excited.
You sounded like Squeak from Toy Story.
Oh, man. What a movie. Talking about Wheezy? That's my guy.
Wheezy, that's him.
It's my guy. I love Wheezy.
That's a good movie.
Oh, my God. Elite
There's 5 coming out, right?
Yeah, sure is. I don't know why, but I'm going to watch the crap out of it.
Oh, yeah. I'll be there opening night. I'll probably be questioning why I'm going in at age 20.
I won't question it. I'm going to be 28 now.
Fair enough.
But yeah.
They've both looked really good. And what we're hearing on Curtis is he's healthy and he's confident, which are two major things coming off Tommy John.
Right.
I think a lot of times people don't talk about just, how much is this guy trusting his own stuff right now?
Right.
It's like not to compare it to the yips, but like, once you lose that confidence, sometimes it's really tough to get it back.
Mm-hmm.
And granted, these are major league quality relievers, but if you're John Curtis, if this Mets thing doesn't work out, I don't know how many more chances you're getting.
Sure.
So, I mean, you want confidence, you want health. He looked really sharp in his first inning. He's looked sharp all of camp. If we're doing like a bubble meter type thing with outside looking in, on the bubble, inside looking out. John Curtis is probably on the inside looking out right now.
Yeah, and I
Considering you
would
have
agree,
3 spots up
especially
for grabs.
right, and especially since, in all likelihood, I think both Peterson and McGill looks like are probably starting in AAA just to get
And I'd
stay
argue
stretched
Lucchese
out.
too. Because
Right,
Lucchese's probably still doing an active roster rehab.
exactly.
And Eliezer Hernandez does not look good.
No,
William Woods is off the 40 man. We've seen minimal of Jeff Brigham so far.
Zach Green's look solid. He's looked
Yeah,
good.
and he has stuff working in his favor.
Right.
Mainly being that if
He was also a Rule 5 guy.
right,
So he has to be on the roster.
He has the contractual obligations in his favor. I mean, they can always just return him to the Yankees.
Right.
So I'd say he's probably more firmly on the bubble.
Have we seen anything of Ridings?
That was my next point. Stephen Ridings. Haven't seen him yet. And he was pretty badly hurt for the Yankees.
Mm-hmm.
So you do wonder if maybe that's part of it. I don't want to speculate injury, but
right.
It's possible there's something there.
But going back to your last point about Curtis, he hasn't thrown a major league inning since 2021.
No, he missed.
And it's not because he was in the minors or anything. He's been hurt. Imagine not going to your job for 2 years, and then you just have to come right back to it.
And
you're going to have some confidence
job
issues.
back.
Right.
It's not like he's just showing back up. He's got to win his job back.
Right.
In a new team with new bosses, new evaluators,
and
a lot of pressure,
expectations. It's not like he's trying to do this for the Pittsburgh Pirates. It's not like he's trying to do this for the Cincinnati Reds. I'm going to keep on picking on the Central teams. It's not like he's doing this for one of those guys. Hell, it's not like he's doing this for the Texas Rangers. He's doing this for a Mets team who's expected to win 95 to 100 games and push for World Series title. We said it before in one of the most recent episodes.
Talked about it last episode.
It was
World
last
Series
episode.
or bust.
There has never been a team with more pressure to win a World Series than the 2023 New York Mets.
You could argue ever.
I'm agreeing. Yeah, without question. So it's impressive to see what he's done. And again, it's March 2nd.
Right. He could go out next time and get his tits lit.
He can go out there on opening day, and I can't remember the guy's name. The guy that pitched for the Nationals a few years ago, he went like a full month of getting an out. He can have that kind of string. But
oh God, I forgot who that was.
So far, he's done well.
No, and I mean it's what you want to see. It's what you want to see. I mean, even like it's the same deal as what the Blue Jays are doing with Chad Green right now. Sign him to a 2-year deal.
I forgot that happened. Yeah.
No, sign him to a 2-year deal, rehab him year 1, get him in your system, rehabbing the way you want to rehab him. He comes back on basically a 1-year deal, but you're getting the chance to see him first and rehab him first. If you don't like what you're seeing, you decline the team option.
The Red Sox did that with Paxton. I think the Twins did that with Pineda a few years back.
It's smart.
It's absolutely.
Because now the Mets are in a spot where they have John Curtis, who still has an option.
Right.
And they can make it work. So it's going to be very interesting. I definitely think he's on the inside.
He's only 29.
Yeah. I mean, he's still pretty young. You could argue he's definitely on the inside looking out right now.
Yeah.
I mean, Montes de Oca might be in that same sphere. I'd say you probably have Nogosek and Green more so on the inside looking out than on the bubble, just considering their contractual situations.
Right.
Nogosek, no options, and he looked okay. Green, Rule 5, he's looked okay. Eliezer Hernandez didn't look good. Grant Hartwig has looked great.
He's looked solid.
I think he's a lot closer to the bubble than people think. I think if the Mets decide to go the route of returning Green to the Yankees, then I think the third reliever I'm taking north with Montes de Oca and Curtis is probably Zach Green. Probably Grant Hartwig. Look, and I'm one of the biggest Grant Hartwig fans there is. I think he's a legitimate major league reliever for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he somehow went from a UDFA sitting 92, 93 to sitting 96, 97 with some filthy off-speed pitches. I think he's got a boatload of potential, and he could also be in the same spot of like Curtis, where 3-4 months in, he's seeming a lot more important than he did in camp.
And here's the thing, just with the reliever position and just the all the injuries that happen in the bullpen and the volatility of the bullpen, all these names we're saying we'll be seeing every single one of these guys
this year.
with the active roster in 2023.
The Mets will probably push 15, 14 relievers this year.
I
They
don't
had
know
a
the number off
week
the top of my head
last
that they
year.
used last year, but
they had a week last year where they called someone up and DFA'd the previous guy every day.
yeah.
They called up guy A on day 1. Day 2, they DFA'd guy A, called up guy B. Day 3, DFA'd guy B, called up guy C. But you also don't want to be in a spot where you have to go out and give multi-year deals and considerable money to relievers every year. They're not going to run out a $375 million payroll every year. They're not going to be incurring $500 overall every year.
Right.
$500 million overall. That's just not feasible. It's not what they're going to do.
It's not sustainable, and at
But
some point it's going to affect your team. You're going to lose draft picks. You're going to lose international slot money. That's something that this team cares about because they want to build the farm system. They want to build the young guys.
Their top all minimal of their top 10 has been built off trades. Alvarez, homegrown. Baty,
Right.
homegrown. Mauricio, homegrown. Vientos, Jet, Tidwell, Parada. These guys are all homegrown. Even down to the Hamill, Ziegler, Allen, Vassell. Their best I don't even know who their best prospect is that they acquired in a trade.
About to look that up.
I don't know if there is one.
I'm just
for a
going
while
off
it was
of
Khalil
pipeline.
Lee. Right, that's what I'm
Okay,
pulling
so
up.
Alvarez, Beatty, Parada, Ramirez, Williams, Mauricio, Vientos, Tidwell, Ziegler, Allen are their top 10. Those are all homegrown.
No, yeah. Looking at my own personal top 10, their best prospect that they traded for.
Zach Green is at 25. He might be the first one.
Zach Green is the first one. Genuinely. And unless I'm just being stupid and I'm really missing someone, their best prospect that they traded for or acquired externally on my rankings is former top prospect Mateo Gil at 56. And yes, I do have a top 56 for my Mets prospects right
You're
insane right now.
You're insane.
But yeah, Mateo Gil, Rule 5. They care deep. Then their last IFA class was really good. They're going to have a lot of good guys hitting the FCL this year.
They've done so well with that. Yeah.
No, it's going to be important. And yeah, you're right. You can't bank on these deals every year because we know how volatile relievers are. With the new rules and his inability to hold runners, Adam Ottavino could be a liability at times, especially with the fact that you're banking on him maintaining career best walk numbers for a guy that struggled with control his whole career. He could be number 5, number 6 on the depth chart by the end of the year.
You never know.
And you could be
I don't think so.
Right, but you could be
know.
looking at a world where Curtis, Robertson, Rayleigh, Smith, and Diaz are all ahead of him in the pecking order.
Right. But then it's also a matter of, well, if he's your 5th guy, then you're in a damn good spot too.
Right. It's like what you would say, all right, well, if you're the Mets and you're starting, you're starting David Peterson in big games in August. You're like, oh God, this could be really bad. Or you're like, oh, he might have finally turned it around, figured it out. And thankfully for the Mets, it was the second one. He had figured it out.
Mm-hmm.
But do we hard pivot now?
We do need to transition a little bit.
I'm moving my table back.
But I want to ask you one more thought on spring training overall, not just sole player or
little self plug. I am applied to go down and cover the game against Team Nicaragua on the 9th, I believe. I think it's Team Nicaragua. It could be Team Venezuela. I'm applied to go cover that. I am applied to go cover that. So I might be down in St. Lucie this time next week.
So that's exciting. Keep your eyes out for that. But I want to
self-love.
Get your overall thoughts on some of the new rules that have been implemented with the pitch clock and the automatic strike and ball and the bigger bases and all that. I'm curious to see your reaction because this is somewhere I think we somewhat differ on.
And I hate pulling rank, but I will always pull I covered 10, 15, 20 minor league games last year. Mind you, the team that went on to win the Florida State League title, I only saw one player get an automatic strike called on them.
Mm-hmm.
And it was Alex Ramirez. Coincidentally enough, the top prospect that played in the FSL last year.
Right. We've already seen a good amount of it happening this year.
Right. And the thing I'm going to point out about the Red Sox Braves game, and if we get a certain guest on soon, we will make sure to ask him about this. We don't know. Things are up in the air. But, you're in the ninth. These are guys who played with the pitch clock last year.
Right.
Right. You notice he was immediately running to first because he thought there was a violation called on the pitcher that would have resulted in an automatic ball that would have given him a walk.
Yeah.
So he knows the rule because he's acting instinctually on it. But look,
I kind of understood what the guy was saying, though.
It's a good
the catcher
rule.
was still standing up.
But that's the letter of the rule: is the catcher is 8 seconds, the batter is 7. That
I get
extra second, it might not feel like a lot, but it can be.
Right.
And look, again, you might want to harp on that specific situation all you want. One, never going to happen in real life. How many times in the NFL is a play clock on 0 on the score bug, and they give them an extra 2-3 seconds? No one wants to see a fucking delay a game.
It's all the time. It's all
Look,
the time.
The rules can be called very harshly in spring training, so guys figure it out. That's probably what teams want. Look, call it down the line. The second hits 0, call it so we figure it out.
Right.
But if we're in June, that's going to be walked back. If we're in September and the Mets are in Atlanta playing for the division title, that's not going to happen. Now, if you're still 4 or 5 seconds later, follow the fucking rule. Like at that point, that's on you.
Right.
Like if Daniel Jones is still looking at his wristband 4 seconds after the play clock expires, he deserves a delay game called.
Right.
You deserve it at that point. And there's going to be leeway, but if you try and take advantage of leeway and you try and test that leeway, that's when it's going to get called. So if I had to guess, guys will probably try and test that leeway in like late May, early June, once you're settled into things. And we'll probably see stuff like that. But it happened to Machado, hasn't happened to him again since. That's how this is probably going to go.
Right.
Guys are going to learn the hard way, and it's embarrassing. When I saw it happen to Alex Ramirez, he put his head down and he walked back. Because you got nothing to say. Oh, the clock was going too fast. The umpire was like, we can all see it. Everyone in the press box, we all saw it.
Yeah.
We all saw the clock on double zeros. He got called for it. Or not. We also saw the clock on 7 seconds, and he was just getting his foot in the box. He wasn't even anywhere near ready. He deserved to have that called on him. Didn't see it happen again. And I saw probably 180, 200 innings of minor league ball this last year.
Right.
Didn't happen again after that. But if it continuously happens like that, that's on no one but you yourself. And the bigger bases, I have no opinion. If it's a health thing, it's a health thing. I trust the doctors and the medical experts who have said if you increase the bases by 3 inches each way, you're gonna have a safer game.
I like the bigger bases because of the overall health thing.
And it's gonna incentivize stolen bases. And with the pickoff rule, we might see a dude like John Birdie might steal 70, 80 bases this year.
Right.
And
that brings value to a guy like Tim LeCastro, who hits better than Travis Jankowski did last year, and is one of the fastest men on the planet.
No, right. I mean, you're going to see.
I think he already has 5 stolen bases in spring training.
Base stealing is going to be back. It'll be incentivized, and that specifically will be good for the game. And that's what you want to see.
It's more action.
You brought up ABS. It's a good concept. So the way it works is you have enough. You have these filters that are. You have the filters that are not filters. You have readers on posts through the stadium. They're small enough that you don't see them at all. And they triangulate a reading. They triangulate a reading all the way around, I think, up past the bases a little bit, but not terribly far. So you have basically as far back as the pitcher's arm could go, all the way through to the plate. You have a guy up in the press box, headset on and a mic. He can talk with the home plate umpire. He's also holding a tablet that receives that triangulated signal with a drawn out batter's box.
It's like game day.
I stood over his shoulder and watched him do it.
Yep, I've seen it before as well.
The umpires loved it because, yes, you're taking out a little bit of the human factor but it's a human factor of mistake. Which I don't think anyone loves.
I'm a boring old man. I like the human factor of the game.
I guess, but
boring.
Look, the way the minor leagues did it was Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. humans called the game. Well, there were no games Monday. So Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, humans called the game. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, they had ABS working. With ABS, you have 3 ball strike. I think you have 4 ball strike challenges a game.
I think 3.
It might be 3 on each side.
Yeah.
You have 3 on the mound, 3 at the plate.
Yeah.
Look, Rachel Balkovich never used them. She never used them. The Tarpons.
The one in the Yankees organization, correct?
Yes. The Tarpons never challenged a call. They were notorious for it. Because people were mad. They're like, what the fuck is the point of trying this out if you're not going to use it?
That's fair.
And Rachel defended it. She was like, look, this isn't something we want to use. And I don't know if that was just a Tarpon specific stance, but there was talk like Rachel Balkovich was infamous for not wanting to use that ball strike call, that ball strike challenge. You know, you have guys who come down in rehab. DeGrom didn't want to use it. Yeah, I remember someone came into the press box 5 minutes before it started. They're like, hey guys, just so you know, he's not doing the ball strike challenge. Because I sat directly to the right to the official scorer. So you need to know that stuff. And I was privy to a little bit more information, like all the StatCast numbers and that type of stuff too.
Right.
But DeGrom didn't want to use it. And that's fine. There were guys that came down to rehab and used it. I forget who it was. Someone for the Tigers was rehabbing when they were in St. Lucie. He used it. You know, rehabbing guys last year had the option you can use the pitch clock or you don't. Your call. Some guys used it because they were like, look, it's coming. I might as well start using it now, get some exposure.
It's fair.
Guys like DeGrom were like, well, I don't need it. We're not using it. So why would I use it?
Right.
Fair is fair. Everyone's got their own opinion. But look, I liked it. And it's not like it's, you know, you stop, you turn around, you pull out the iPad yourself, you're getting on the headsets. They're already in constant communication. Batter or pitcher or coach, whoever's calling the challenge, does this. The umpire turns up.
We saw the one clip last year that was just, you know, a tap on the helmet, and that's an automatic challenge.
Yeah, the player or coach does earphones. The way the way the Mets did it was player earphones, umpire does that, and then they just double check on the iPad.
Yeah.
So I mean, it worked just fine. Again, no problems with it. Or sorry, I got that so backwards. Humans called the games on the weekends.
Okay.
You know, you had an ABS there for challenging balls and strikes.
Right.
Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, because I never saw it. I never saw the fully auto. I saw how it was set up, and they showed me how it worked. But I never called a game with the fully automated ABS. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, you got 3 challenges per side of the ball. Games called by human, but you still had the ABS. You still had the guy there with the tablet and the headset. So just headphones. Home plate umpire turns around, hand on his head. He just presses. It's like a fucking drive-through window. Presses the button. Yeah, it wants the ball. If it's call stands, is just that, just a safe sign. If it's a strike, if it's a ball, and it worked because it takes 2 seconds. Like,
and I think if there's going to be a way for a lot of the fans like myself who are old farts who still appreciate the traditional style of the game and herp, it'll be that kind of style.
That was very millennial of you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Where it'll still be, you know, someone behind the plate calling the game. They're not fed whether it's a strike or a ball. They make the call that they see, but you have those challenges where if Pete Alonso says, I don't think that was a ball, so he goes like this, and then you see up on the jumbotron or whatever.
Right, and
I feel like
you're definitely
the way you're going to be able to convince fans to accept it.
And you're definitely going to have teams that are not going to use it.
Right.
You're going to have teams that are going to be very staunchly against it because you're going to have these old-fashioned... Like, if the Marlins still had Mattingly, I promise you the Marlins would never challenge a single call. But you're going to have some teams...
will not challenge a call with Phil Nevin. That ain't going to happen.
But the Mets probably would. Aaron Boone would be all over that. Kevin Cash, all over.
Kevin Cash would use his challenges by the end of the first inning.
Right. No, and that's the other thing is there were some teams, I think it was like the Lakeland Tigers, only the manager could make that call. Only the manager could challenge pitches. The Mets let guys challenge it on their own. You know, Robbie Robinson was very laid back. He let guys challenge them on their own. But like, you know, it's like a green light. It's like having an automatic green light.
Right.
You know, if you fuck up, you fuck up, and we're gonna remember. We might say, like, look, you can't do this.
Right.
you know, oh God, what's an example? Not to pick on him, but Jack Thomas Wold, you are 0 for 5 challenging pitches this week. You're done. You need, I need to call him for you.
Yeah.
It's the same way as like getting a 3-0 green light revoked. Some guys like Jeff McNeil, I'm sure automatically has a 3-0 green light. But you might be like,
He won't use it very often, but
right, but he has it. Whereas then if he suddenly is swinging and missing at ball 4 multiple times on 3-0, you're like, all right, Jeff, for a little bit, I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
So you're going to have teams like the Tarpons who never used them. You're going to have teams like the Tigers who was manager only. You're going to have teams like the St. Lucie Mets where Robbie Robinson kind of let whoever use them.
Right.
And it'll be very interesting. I think that's a happy medium. Is an ABS guy there for ball strike challenges? And if it takes 2 seconds, it takes 2. Like you're not going to notice it. Legitimately, you're not. It's especially with the game being 30 minutes quicker and you're having 30 minutes less time of non-baseball stuff in a baseball game.
Right.
The game's going to be quicker. And that's you're not going to notice it at all. Look, it's a great rule. Everything they've been trying in the minor leagues has worked. It's not like shit they're fucking around with in the Atlantic League. Where it's a joke and the guys are making less than 5 figures and they have other jobs they work aside from this thing.
Right.
This is like
I can see stuff from the Savannah Bananas like that. That's
right. Yeah, this isn't the
it's not gonna be, a fan catches a foul ball, batter's out. That's not how that's going to work.
No, it's look, it's interesting. It'll be very interesting to see what happens, but I do think human called games with, I don't know if it'll be three challenges each side per game. Then you get one for both sides per inning. I don't know how they're going to do it. I think 18 challenges allotted per game would be a lot.
That's obsessive.
But, there are going to be some innings where you're just not using it. But then again, it's like legitimately the process, if you're the umpire, is...
I feel like it'd either be 3 per side per game or 5 total.
No, I mean, here's the process if you're an umpire. That's it. That's all it takes.
Right.
It's incredibly nonchalant. I mean, it's the same as it's almost as quick of a process as a hockey official calling a delayed penalty.
Right.
You notice it, you see it, you take note of it because it's important. But it's not like it's not like they're stopping the game to do it. The ball's being thrown back to the pitcher anyway, who's then spiking off his cleats and getting set.
Mm-hmm.
It legitimately takes less than 5 seconds.
Yeah.
But all the rules we're implementing have been good. I like all of them. I mean, there genuinely is not a one, or even some that are kind of in limbo, kind of proposed. It's like I still got like the elimination of arbitrations being bandied about.
I'm still not a huge fan of the pitch clock, but again,
look, man, we're how north in Jersey are you?
I'm half an hour from the city.
Go to a Cyclones game.
I've gone to a Cyclones game.
Go to a couple this year and but like actively try and take in how different the game is with. Because when I go to St. Lucie games just for shits and giggles as a fan with my dad, with my girlfriend, friends, my grandparents, whatever, I'm just there having fun. We're spending a half inning in the team store, watching on the TV, walking around the concourse, trying to look at some of the backfields out at the formerly.
Going to a minor league game, that's just a fun time.
Well, the point I'm trying to make is the different approach I took covering it as a credentialed reporter was I was trying to take in how actively different the change of the games are.
Right. And
I mean, the biggest problem I have with baseball sometimes is I look up and I'm like, shit, it's only the 4th.
Right. I get it. And
the games just aren't like that. I mean, they're a little bit like that in spring training now because of all the substitutions and you're still figuring the rules out and all that.
Right.
It never happened in St. Lucie. If anything, I was like, holy shit, it's already the 4th. It's been 45 minutes.
Yeah.
I mean, we would
be borderline. Get more of that this year.
No, I mean, I would look at Bill Whitehead next to me, the St. Lucie decider, as he calls himself. He was the official scorer, still is. And it'd be the 7th inning, and we're like an hour 30 in. And he's like, "Do you think we're getting out of here?" He's like, "You think we're doing this under 2 hours?" I was like, "I don't know, man." Like, I mean, we had games that were done in 1:55. We had 13-run total games that were done in 2:30. And granted, in the MLB, you're going to have longer commercial breaks because of more sponsoring and all that, and it's fine. You're going to have the occasional you got to hold up the inning an extra 30 minutes because ESPN isn't back from commercial or whatever. Like, it happens.
Sure.
But as a whole, the games are going to be much easier to digest. And the biggest problem baseball has right now is how many people have to do something else while watching baseball? So how many kids my age are doing their homework while watching baseball because they need to be doing something else?
Right.
It's hard to watch a hockey game or a football game or a college basketball game and take it in while doing something else because it's continuous play. You're going to miss something.
Yeah, I mean,
That's the challenge baseball has as a non-continuous play sport.
Going to the Mets game a couple of days ago, I forgot who we were playing. I think it was against the Astros. There was a game, 19 runs, 25 hits, 11 walks, 4 homers, 2 errors, 2 balks, and a bunch of pitching changes. 2 hours, 58 minutes.
It's a 4-hour game.
Minimum.
That is a 4-hour game.
So, like,
the only time you're going to have
I get it, but I'm not fully there. And again, I know it. When it comes to watching baseball, I'm an old fart. I still appreciate the good old hit and run and bunting the man over and sack fly with runners on third. Listen, I'm that old fart. I get it.
I think a lot of it's posted in the wrong light. Because you're thinking to yourself, 250 to 220 is not a huge drop. It's only 30 minutes. But that's 30 minutes of non-baseball.
Right.
Because in baseball, you have roughly 25 minutes of play per game. Of things happening, shit being in play, pitch being live. It's about 25 minutes of it. So now you're going from about 2.5 hours of non-baseball to under 2. That's a big change. You're cutting that by 20.
Right.
I mean, and that's the challenge you have as a non-continuous sport. But I look, I love them. I think they're good. I think they will grow on people in time. The same way
We'll see.
that
I don't
in 5
doubt it.
years, no one's going to think twice about the extra inning rule. The greatest rule to ever hit American sports.
Oh, yeah, I don't care for that. I don't care for that.
It's the greatest rule to ever hit American sports.
I don't know.
Look, I look at it in the same light as hockey going to 3-on-3 in overtime.
Like, listen,
you need to do something to speed. Look, if you were doing 10-minute 5-on-5 periods in hockey in overtime, how many 2-2 games would be going to a shootout? Would be going to shootouts instead of ending 3-2?
Yeah,
a lot more. If anything, baseball needs offense and needs less downtime. They are cutting downtime. The extra inning rule incentivizes offense, but that rule mixes into the pitch clock in a sense of you are just cutting time. Look, I mean, there are ways to beat everything. There are ways to beat the extra inning rule. Potentially walk the first guy, and now suddenly you got a force any base double play chance.
I get it, but you're also adding more risk. There's still strategy with the whole automatic runner on second. I get it. Don't
tell me you're one of those started after the 10th inning people.
Okay.
Because I think one of the worst things you can do in sports is change the rules just to fit high leverage situations. I mean, the play clock suddenly isn't 50 seconds in the fourth quarter in football. Right. The shot clock doesn't go to 28 seconds if you're inside 6 minutes. You don't get an extra attacker in hockey because you're inside 10 minutes. College basketball, you don't get the foul out doesn't go from 5 to 6 because you're in the fourth, because you're after the under 8 in the second half. You play it blanket all the way through. And to be fair to that, I would rather baseball just keep the regular rules in the extra innings than get rid of a rule halfway through. If you're gonna,
I just don't care for
the
it.
rule for the extra, if the thought for the extra inning rule is, oh well, let's just do it in the 11th inning and after, just don't do it at all.
Now, I will say
either
that,
do it starting in the 10th or don't do it at all.
Like if I were
all or nothing.
If I were an employee of the league, the network, whatever it may be, I could see the benefits of it there.
Are you going to get in trouble with this?
As a fan, I don't care for it.
As a fan, I love it. Look, baseball needs runs to cross the plate. I would rather a 7-5 game in baseball than a 2-1 game.
I don't think that's a hot take at all.
You need offense. And the thing is, baseball is going in a way with the way pitches are being developed now to minimize offense. You need ways to push that envelope. And look, I think hockey, the great way hockey does overtime, part of it is if it's done like that. You're right on the shootouts.
Yeah.
I mean, it's what, a 5-minute period?
5-minute period.
That is the same as putting a runner on second. That's the baseball equivalent of putting a runner on second base. You are minimizing the time it's going to take to get from to be in this post-regulation period.
Mm.
And that's something you need because, I mean, how many times is a game going to extra innings and you're groaning, not only because you couldn't win it in the first 9, but you're like, shit, it's already
They don't win it in the X5.
It's already 10:30. And you're going to get games like the Mets had. I think it was in, I forget when, but like you're just trading blows back and forth. You know what my favorite games are nowadays? You go to the 10th inning, first team puts up 4, second team comes back and smacks 5 and walks it off. Those are fun.
It's fun.
You're
sure.
creating new, but that's what baseball needs.
But you could do the same thing without the runner on second.
We need less old farts.
You could do the same thing without the runner on second.
No, you can't.
Sure you can.
You have the fucking Mets and Marlins going 9 innings again with like 6 total hits. Look, you're telling me you don't want to see a situation where you got Edwin Diaz up against Jazz Chisholm to lead off the inning, John Birdie on second base.
I don't want to see John Birdie on second base.
But here's the thing is that to a casual baseball fan.
Because here's the thing. I know for a fact John Birdie is scoring on some wild ass shit play that won't happen again, but because it's John Birdie and because it's against the Mets, it'll happen. And that's how the Mets lose by a run.
The new rules are making baseball fun. And that's what baseball needs.
Great.
Is
it's
fun.
Been great.
But great isn't
I didn't have
fun.
a problem with the length of the game. But I could sit and watch a 3.5-hour Mets game and then just flip over to another channel and watch a 3-hour and 15-minute Pirates and fucking Cardinals game.
But there aren't a lot of people like you.
I'm fully aware of that.
But that's the problem. Baseball as a whole, I'm not going to say baseball's dying. But here's the best way I can
You need to get the younger fan. I get it.
If you go on ESPN.com.
Right.
MLB, that tag is up there from, that banner is up there from April to October.
Mm-hmm.
November hits, it's gone.
Right.
NFL, NBA, NHL, NCAA football, those are up there year round.
Right.
Baseball's not. I mean, Rob Manfred hit the nail on the head unintentionally. It's a regional sport. And I
just a kid screaming. I don't know if you hear it or not.
No. But okay. But I mean, baseball's a regional sport, and that's a problem they need to take care of.
Right.
And a great way to make baseball unregional and make it a national sport again is to, 1, make it fun, and 2, make it different. Because what's been working, they've been doing is maybe working for baseball fans, but you need sports fans. Look, I'm not a fan of the NBA. I loosely follow the Celtics because my dad's friends with Sean Graham, the radio play-by-play guy. I loosely follow the Celtics.
Right.
But if they're on, I'm going to put it on. It's the NBA.
Sure.
You know, I was trying to stay up to date with Kevin Durant's debut last night for Phoenix. Oh, unintentional, but
I know.
But like even like fucking Victor Wembanyama.
The Nets suck. That's all I'm gonna say.
I'm keeping tabs on the 7'5" freak,
mm-hmm.
And I'm not even.
I hope
NBA
he continues to get dunked on, so his stock plummets and he falls to where the Suns are supposed to pick. Because that way, that's the only way the Nets gets. I'm not going to go on a different thing. I'm not going to talk about a different sport. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it.
But the thing is, I'm not an NBA fan.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really not. And I still turn it on. I was not a hockey fan until this year. I'd watch the Stanley Cup playoffs every year.
Listen,
because there's nothing better than playoff hockey.
Yeah, I'm with you there.
And playoff baseball is a top-tier sport.
I'm not the biggest hockey guy either, but playoff hockey is a different breed.
Hockey,
that's just fun, man.
Good hockey is a top-tier sport.
Right.
but it's starting to be pushed nationally, and a huge part of that is ESPN.
Right.
I mean, a huge reason I was able to start to become a hockey fan and an Avs fan is because every team is available through ESPN Plus.
Right.
I watch every Avs game that isn't a national game on ESPN Plus, or aside from when they play the Lightning because it's blacked out.
Right.
But I mean, look, and a huge thing coming up for baseball is what's going to happen with these Bally Sports teams. I mean, baseball really has
What
a
the hell's
chance.
going to happen?
Baseball really has a chance to try and put its foot down and be like, look, we're going to be back on the national stage.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's no reason Francisco Lindor can't be a nationwide athletic superstar.
Sure.
He's a baseball superstar. But, I mean, he's a recognizable face. He's different. He's out there. And he's a superstar.
But, like, Lindor has the benefit of the Mets having their own network with SNY. Like, Julio Rodriguez has Seattle because they have Root Sports. But what about, to bring him up again, Carlos Correa?
Well, I mean, big ones can be
Minnesota. They're a Bally Sports guy.
I mean,
Javi Baez in Detroit. Spencer Torkelson.
He sucks.
I get it, but like
they're both bad.
I get
better examples. Here, I'll give you one. If he pans out, and the Reds have Ellie De La Cruz hitting 50 homers and stealing 50 bases, hitting 300, is baseball going to be able to market him? Fucking Shohei Ohtani. There is no other athlete in sports like him. He is a god in Japan.
He's a god everywhere. He's going to get a $500 million contract.
If you show, let's say, 100 casual sports fans, show them a picture of him, are they going to recognize him?
Shohei?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Say probably 10. Say probably 10 casual sports fans would recognize Shohei.
Out of how many?
100.
Sports fans. I think it's far more than
I'm not saying 10. Casual baseball fans. Casual sports fans. People who have ESPN on their phone but don't have notifications.
I'd say at least half.
I disagree. I mean, do you remember when it was more sports fans could recognize Kenneth Faried over Mike Trout?
Yeah.
Baseball's not a national sport, and they currently have a two-way superstar.
I love Mike Trout.
He is
a
walking the greatest center fielder of all time.
Sure, absolutely. But going back to the whole international factor,
he looks like a generic white guy. Yeah, again, like
bingo.
He looks like a default, like the default guy I wrote to the show.
Mike Trout looks like a random guy named Mike.
Yeah.
Shohei Ohtani, he stands out. He's an international superstar.
But he's not a superstar here in the States.
I think you can go to any Memphis Grizzlies fan and say, hey, do you know who this guy is?
And they're going to say no.
I don't know. They may not be able to name him, but they can say, I definitely know who that is. I've definitely seen his face.
I don't think that's true. But baseball has a chance now with this Bally Sports thing. And look, you're not going to be able to buy out Root Sports. Or Nesson, SNY, Comcast. Or well, no, Comcast is part of Bally.
But
or like Comcast isn't. What does Chicago use?
That's what I'm trying to figure out. Oh my God.
I think it is Comcast.
It's gonna piss me off. No, it's not Comcast.
Because all the Fox Sports became Bally. CSN, right?
I'm going insane.
Oh man, I really hope this isn't like somehow tie into your job.
I don't talk about it.
Marquee.
Thank you.
Right, so you're not going to be able to buy the rights from Marquee, Root, SNY, yes, whatever.
Right.
But these Bally Sports teams.
That's 18 different local RSNs. That's Bally.
So who are the ones that aren't? Mariners, Giants. No, the Giants are Bally. What are the Dodgers?
Dodgers are they're not Bally. They're something LA. Yeah, they're their own.
Right, and it's unfortunate for baseball that a lot of these Bally Sports
Padres
teams,
though.
Right.
They're Bally Sports San Diego.
Yeah, but the Padres are probably the most high-profile team. But I think a problem they might run into is the Red Sox, the Dodgers, the Mets, the Yankees. Arguably right now the four most recognizable franchises in baseball.
Because they're on the Giants too.
Right. Because the Giants aren't Bally either.
Right.
The five most recognizable franchises in baseball you can't do anything with.
Right.
But they're really not having a problem doing it on their own.
Sure.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I think this is a huge chance for baseball to really kind of try and elevate itself back onto a national stage.
Yeah. We've been going at it for a while.
We're going to hard pivot to our last topic.
I'll turn the mic to you.
How do I?
Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to mute my mic. I've been getting pretty animated, so I'm sweating underneath this hoodie. I'll be right back, and I'll come back to wherever you are.
No, you have to stay and hear this. While I try and unplug this. It's not working, so I want to hold it.
Oh boy,
Hold on. Please hold.
holding.
Okay. I have a handheld now. My microphone is now handheld. I am just going to say, did you go to Marquette? Slater has a Marquette shirt on. I can't hear you. Nope. Okay. As a society of Mets fans, as a group of Mets fans, we are past the need for the yearly Bartolo Colon training video. Man is damn near 50 fucking years old. He doesn't look like he's eating quarter pounders. He looks like he's eating 50 pounders.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
Yeah, I was still muted because I'm a jackass.
We don't need this. We can stop. We are done with this. Bringing Bartolo Colon back is at this point the equivalent of signing Tim Tebow, and I say that as a Mets and Broncos fan who lives in Gator country.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it's a money
really
grab.
Trifecta
It's
there, huh?
stupid. There is no need for this. There is absolutely none. He
He's
provides
50.
nothing of value. He's almost 50. Mind you, remember, he's a horrid person. This man hid a second family from his main family.
But like honestly,
then neglected them both once it came out.
Him being a bad person aside, we don't need it.
I would rather
we need to
me and Slater
evolve
run out
as
there.
people, as a
as
fan
Mets
base.
fans.
This is a team that just won 103 freaking games last year. You have active Hall of Famers on your pitching staff. You don't need Bartolo Colon here. I'm like,
if the Mets are in a spot where they need Bartolo Colon this year, Billy Epler's getting fired, Buck Showalter's getting fired, Steve Cohen is getting arrested for murder.
I was going to say he's probably in jail for insider.
Steve Cohen's probably killed someone out of anger at this point. Just stop.
Stop it.
Stop. Look, it's not like when the Celtics, like in during the COVID time and all that, when a million players were in safety protocols, when teams are bringing older guys back, like when the Celtics brought back Joe Johnson. Like it's not like when the Jets and the Eagles had Josh McCown as their backup at 39.
Right.
This is not the same.
No.
This isn't even Nelson Cruz and Albert Pujols hanging around to chase milestones.
Right. It's not the Pirates bring back Andrew McCutchen.
No. I should start doing this more often. I like the handheld.
That's why I do it, brother.
But we're done with this. We need to end this. I need to find a way to hook this up to my phone. This would be so helpful in St. Lucie. Maybe I could. I don't know.
I'm sure you have to get some adapter.
I'm sure $30 on Amazon and I'll lose it like I lost the other one.
Right.
But we gotta let it go.
I would rather the Mets bring back R.A. Dickey than they bring back Bartolo Colon. It's what? It's episode 57. I'd rather them bring back Johan Santana than Bartolo Colon.
Does Johan even still have a left shoulder?
Who cares?
That's better than Bartolo.
Like,
end it. I'd rather the Giants sign Daniel Jones to a $50 million a year contract for 5 years.
I wouldn't go that far.
But as a lifelong Giants fan, they need to do it.
You as a lifelong Giants fan?
I think Timo Meyer should be suspended.
No, get out of here.
Jack Hughes banned from the league.
That's your profile picture, guy. That's your profile picture until the Avs win a game.
They're about to whoop the shit out of Dallas tomorrow night, but look, the defending champs are getting hot. Kale McCarr's on the way back. They started the fourth string goalie last night because Francouz snapped his leg. McDermott's not ready to play.
Georgiev's just scared.
Georgiev just shut out Vegas the night before, so you watch your mouth. Look, the defending champs are hot. They're 0-2 when I've seen them, but for Elite, it doesn't have a lot of fights anymore as it used to. I've seen 3 in 2 games.
That ain't bad.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
I made it down to Tampa not too long ago. But let's just end the Bartolo Colon stuff. He wasn't even that fun when he was here. For a society that is now very anti like body shaming, a lot of people just liking Bartolo because he was fat. It really isn't a good look. Name one reason Bartolo Colon is fun other than he's fat.
The home run, that was fun. The behind the back against Miami was fun. End of list.
So 2 moments over his 4 years with the Mets.
I don't know if was it that long?
I would have but here's the thing.
Either way.
It was the fact it was an offensive thing he did as a pitcher in a league with now a universal DH. And a weird defensive thing he was only able to do because it was Justin Bohr who tripped in the batter's box. Happy retirement, Justin Bohr. Man, hit tanks in the Derby that one year. He was an angel at one point too.
He sure was.
But
Angels wasn't Justin Bohr.
Just stop the Bartolo shit.
Yeah,
it's done.
Let's give it a rest.
It's done. I'd like just pitch Denny Reyes. Run Jose Budo out there. Phenomenal ass, by the way. That dude's got a wagon.
I mean, with the last name like Budo, you better have a wagon. I mean, come on.
You're speaking my language.
Come on now.
I think this is where we end.
Yeah.
I think we ended on the Budo comment. Like, we've been at this for an hour and a half.
Give it a rest. But we will be back next week. We've already decided we will record one more time before the World Baseball Classic.
We might be able to do this next week from St. Lucie if I can get to the park early enough or stay late enough.
That is
if I get approved. Or worst case, we're giving you a nice quick episode of what's going on at Port St. Lucie. Go check out the bullpens. I'm pretty sure press passes give me on-field access. I can go look at the bullpens in left field. Record from out there.
We'll figure something out.
Then the new name of the bar. Although I love the Jim Beam Bourbon Bar.
Yeah, that's a tough one. I'm not even gonna attempt that one. Words are hard.
Now imagine saying that after a lot of Jim Beam.
I'd rather not.
There you go. For Antonio Slater. Jack Ramsey, the producer we do not have.
We're our own producers.
Spring training edition. Should have a couple more coming your way. Keep some eyes and ears out for potential guests that we are trying to cook on. Not cook on, but cook.
Definitely not cook on.
No,
we will not. I cannot.
We would never do that to the friend of the show.
Cooking on these guests,
but we are cooking on finding guests.
Bam.
We have one that we were trying to work to get on.
Mm-hmm.
I might become the
others in mind.
I am trying to see if I will be able to cover the St. Lucie Mets again this year.
Mm-hmm.
Still working on that. Might be live from St. Lucie next week. But as always,
LFGM.
LFGM.